And we're live. Welcome into the Flippin Hippos YouTube channel, everybody. That is already here. We'll wait a few minutes and let people come on in. As you can see, I changed the notification on my phone so it's not that loud screeching Halloween noise from the horror movies. It's now the Law and Order noise. We got about 3 people in here waiting for us, Tim.
Awesome. I am so excited.
I know. I think my mods are on their way in. We'll wait till we get a couple people in here before we start introducing you.
Absolutely.
I saw this funny video while we wait of every live show ever for the first minute. And it was just this guy going, hey, so we'll just wait a minute. Come on in, guys. Come on in. Okay, we'll just wait a minute. Come on in, guys. For like a minute. I always feel like that at the beginning.
That's awesome.
Hi, Tiffany, Thrifty Falconer's wife, Heather's Menagerie, and Megan Mawiney is showing up tonight. We are about 2 minutes early, I believe, actually. That could be the issue. I didn't even notice that we were 2 minutes early. I saw that it was saying it was waiting for us, so we just decided to go live. Adam is here. Welcome in. Tony Boss is here. Nice to see you in. So I'm going to go ahead. Jamie Pace will be not talking, so we'll believe that when we see it. Pamela Jordan, hi. Dominic is here. Welcome in. What's up? So you guys, tonight I have a guest that most of you probably already know. His name is Tim, and I will let him take over now and tell you a little bit about himself.
Hi, guys. So as a wonderful star down here, I'm guessing, has said, my name is Tim. I'm with Hex Treasures. Most people know me as a vintage and antique guy. That is not true whatsoever. My wife's the vintage and antique person. I'm just the good-looking face on social media. So if you guys have ever seen my Facebook or my YouTube channel, excuse me, she's known as the voice or the voice of reason because she's always off screen correcting me when I'm wrong. So she's asleep right now with the kids. So there's a slight chance I might get something wrong because I don't have her to correct me. If so, I will correct it. We just love history. We love stories behind stuff. I've always kind of been a research geek. I love looking into things. I love trying to look into the past and figure stuff out. And that's what got me interested in vintage and antiques, was looking up the stories that the items hold. I mean, you think about something that's been around since 1917. We just sold this this music stand that was made in 1917. How many different people has that seen? How many works of music have been played because that was put in front of somebody with a music sheet in front of it, you know? So that's what really got me interested in vintage and antique. Plus, you can make really good money with it. So there's that too.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I'm like a horror aficionado. I love horror movies, and I wouldn't say the word love, but I'm definitely fascinated and interested in serial killers and their mindset. And whenever I find out history or pieces of their past, like I went to the hotel where Lizzie Borden lived before, just to be where she was. I can kind of understand that fascination, but for me, it's really just about horror. So it's not like all vintage and antique, but it's definitely neat to be somewhere or stand somewhere or hold something that you know someone, whether they were good or bad people that were great figures in history for doing good or for doing bad, were standing before you. You know, that's kind of like a powerful moment, I think.
Absolutely.
And Lance has just come in. Hi, Lance. So, okay, the question I want to put to you for everyone watching, and I think that a lot of people new to reselling in general and new to vintage and antiques don't always know. And I see a lot of people asking it, and I see people arguing about it. So let's just end it. To be vintage, you have to be how many years old? Or the item has to be how many years old?
Yeah. Well, we're not going to get into vintage.
No, I'm vintage.
a lot of people think vintage means the 70s and the 80s. That's a term that, is, I mean, it's true. Yes, it is vintage, but it is accepted in the collecting communities as vintage being anything that is 20 years old.
Okay, so 20 years or older is vintage. And then how old does an item have to be antique?
Okay, to be guaranteed as an antique item, it's 100 years old. Now, there are some variances there. If it is the first item in its class and its category, then it can be under 100 years old. So, the very first computer would be considered an antique, even if it wasn't released until, the 60s. It's not 100 years old, but there's nothing like it before, so that would be considered an antique.
So anything that's the first of its kind.
Essentially, yes. Now, if you look at, say, this is where it gets tricky because people will go, well, the iPod came out in, the late 90s, early 2000s, right? And however, an iPod is a music player. So is a phonograph. Those are in the same category.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? So that's how it could get tricky.
Is there a name for items that are 30 to 90 years old?
Vintage.
Okay. So it's either vintage or antique or not, period.
Yeah. And then if you get to the age of something like holly, then it becomes ancient. Oh, she just popped in too.
Oh, speaking of the devil. Hi, Holly. You do know that Holly is like only 2 years older than me. I guess I'm ancient too.
I don't personally believe Holly exists. I've never have actually seen her. So she's like a figment at this point. She's an AI computer program.
Yeah, and she's actually the moderator for so many people these days. They're joking around now that she's not really a reseller. She's just here to add men.
That's really funny.
But we love Holly. She's great.
Absolutely.
So, do you guys focus more on hard goods when you do vintage and antiques or also clothing?
We do a lot of both. And how this works is we're fortunate enough that we live out in the boonies where we are. We live in a very remote area, and we have a really good reselling shop where we buy in bulk from them. Everything there's like 10 to 20 cents. Mm-hmm. So it's also a very old community. So because of this, we have access to everything that they donate, which is all their old clothes from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And so we buy everything they have vintage. We don't take the time to comp it or to look it up. We just go ahead and we take it because it's so cheap. And we research when we get home. Now, so we do a lot. I can tell you right now, we have at least 2,000 vintage clothing items that need to be listed. And that's just vintage clothing. Now on to hard goods.
That's a death pile.
We get hard goods.
That's a pretty big death
that's
pile.
That's about a quarter of my death pile star.
So yeah, it's not like what I have in plush sitting around.
Yeah. Hard goods, in my opinion, I have done the absolute best at our auction house, and I think that's going to go for just about anybody, is that you'll be able to get your vintage hard goods, your glasses, your cups, your advertisements, your memorabilia, your vintage or antique. There's like Tobacciana or Brewiana, anything tobacco or beer related, stuff like that at auction houses, and you can usually get them in lots cheap. We all the time go in our auction, our local auction house is online, and at the end of the auction, they hold a 3-day auction. We go in and we buy everything nobody else has bid on, every $3 lot. And from there we pick everything up, because you figure in that lot, we know we're taking a risk, but generally, I can tell we haven't lost money on our lots yet. We sell 2 items out of there, it pays for the lot itself, and then we have this stuff to either donate somewhere else or to be able to lot together, or we get lucky and we find something like a pair of left-in porcelain salt and pepper shakers that sold for $75. but we only paid $3 for the lot, and we had like 20 other items in there. As far as hard goods, we probably have 4,000 to 6,000 hard good items to list still.
Okay. So now I'm sure that you can't answer this like with one simple blanket question. So before I ask the question, I am going to remind everyone that you do have a Facebook group that is specifically for vintage and antique items where they can ask questions and learn. That is linked down below if you guys want to join. It is a very good resource. I can't even talk tonight. Resource. I wanted to say a good place to research and a good resource. Not only is Tim really knowledgeable, but the group of people in there are very knowledgeable. So there's a lot of different people in there who know a lot of different things about a lot of different things. So go ahead and join it. It's in the box below. But my question is, like, you know, with clothing, it's probably a little bit easier to be able to tell, is this vintage? But when you're looking at glassware and barware and furniture, it's probably a little more complicated to tell if it's vintage or antique. So there's no, like, my question is, there's no real way to just know. You have to learn, right?
Exactly. With glassware and hard goods of that nature, generally speaking, anything milk glass, you know, the very white opaque color, is going to be vintage. Anything made in USA is going to be vintage. This doesn't apply to everything, but for the most part, anything you find made in USA ends up usually being vintage. For, let's say, furniture, if it has a Phillips head screw on it, that's almost guaranteed to not be antique, because that didn't come about until the early 1900s, and it didn't really start getting used until the 1920s or 1930s, somewhere in there. I don't have the exact dates. And so if you're finding furniture with Phillips head screws, you're most likely looking at a vintage item, not an antique item. There are little things like that that you pick up and you learn, and that is what my group is primarily about, is about sharing any bit of knowledge we come across with everybody else. Anything that we can do to help out another reseller, we're more than happy to do. And in the vintage niche, they may be my competition, but vintage is so widespread with the different types of items between clothing and hard goods and car parts and electronics and everything else, that just because by me helping them really doesn't hurt me. So I am all for helping any way I can.
Well, I think it's mainly with clothing. When you're helping people with clothing, you are creating your own competition. Because as we all know, most of it's oversaturated and you can walk into any thrift store and pick up clothing. But with vintage and antique items, I would even go so far as to say, like, the plush, that my favorite thing that I'm always helping people with. What are the chances that, say I help you with plush and you help me with antiques, and we both go sourcing next week? What are the chances I'm going to find the same exact vintage item you're finding, that I'm going to compete with you on eBay at the same time that you're finding the same exact plush that I'm finding? Those things are a little more rare and unique to pick up in the wild. So it's not like when I tell everybody silver jeans are good, all of a sudden silver jeans are oversaturated, because everybody can find silver jeans. Vintage and antiques are harder to find. They're more rare. They're more unique. You're going to find one of a kinds or two of a kinds. So even if you're creating competition, you're not really.
Exactly.
Dominic says, exactly right, Star. See, sometimes you guys, I know something. I did that Phillips screwdriver thing, though. I didn't know. So that's new information for me that I just learned tonight. So that's super cool. The milk glass, I did know. Now, what about Pyrex? Like, most of that's vintage, right?
Most Pyrex is going to be vintage. You see Anchor Hawking, you see Fire King. I mean, to look for, if you see anything with a little square on the bottom that's got the anchor in it, that's going to be Anchor Hawking. Those are really good brands to go for. The designs on the Pyrex and the Fire King, the milk glass ones especially, are what end up selling. But there should also be a number on the bottom of most of these.
I'm so glad about that Anchor Hawking. I actually found an old Olympic like from Olympic Games jar at a yard sale once for $0.25. And I brought it home because it was $0.25 and it had the Olympics on it, and it was anchor hocking on the bottom. And I was like, wow, I really found something here.
Wow. So, something I want to mention for everybody to know, if you're ever outsourcing for Pyrex or Anchor Hawking or Fire King, any of those, if you ever see a milk glass item with a like reverse imprint, you know, where it reads backwards, I always thought, oh, this has to be cool. You know, they messed up. It's not. What they do is they have a cast, and they have, you know, the piece and the press, and it's meant for the clear glass where you can see through the top, so you read it through the inside and you read it forward. Well, they just never change that out. So if you see that, that's not necessarily going to make it more valuable or sell easier, because there's tens of thousands of those. So just, you know, to where, you know, don't jump at that if you see it just because you think it might sell. I wanted to mention that. That's kind of like a reverse bolo.
Okay. But when it comes to clothes, there's a lot of easier ways to tell, right? There's like the single stitching, made in the USA. There's a lot more clues to clothing as far as being vintage than there is hard goods.
Personally, for us, the easiest way to tell is based on the tag, the feel of the tag and the design of the tag. All tags nowadays, you know, they're made with that like nylon-y, the really silky, you know, the fake feel to it, the slippery feel, and let's see, the vintage clothing is going to have a almost paper feel to it. It's going to be hard and crisp, and for us, that's the generally easiest way. Tell Keith, sorry. That's the easiest way to. For us, that's the easiest way to tell with clothing right off the bat. I mean, there are so many brands that have just dropped off the face of the earth that were only around for a couple years, that even if they're big, you know, you can't know every brand for the last 60 years.
Now, I heard a rumor that you can tell, like the RN numbers that were given out go up, like the social security numbers do. So if it's a low RN number, it's most likely vintage. I keep thinking that's echoing. That's coming from you.
No, you're in my headphones. You might hear my kids talking in the background. They're getting ice cream. They should be asleep, but
okay.
They thought they could get ice cream. No, you're not.
I was echoing somewhere and I had something set up wrong. That's okay. So talk about the RN numbers.
Okay, RN numbers are registered numbers. You don't have to have a registered number to sell clothing. But what an RN number does is you can use that in place of your tag, your name. So instead of saying Woolrich, it might just have the RN number. And how this worked was back in the 1940s and 50s, they were all assigned WPL numbers, wool and product label tags. And yeah, that's right, I believe. It's WPL. And it switched over to RNs because the RN number came out at the same time, and they were running, you know, the numbers were overlapping. So they had to figure out what to do to keep everything to mesh properly. So they switched over to only RN numbers. And I believe it was 13,670 is the very first of that series. And what that means is that's the year, based on the formula that you can find for that, that's about the year the company had applied for that RN number. So if that company is still in business today, like Levi will have a very old RN number. It might even be a WPL number, but that doesn't mean that the jeans in your hand weren't made yesterday. Please go. Thank you. Sit at the counter.
So once you're assigned an RN number, that's your RN number forever. So even if you were established in 1962, in 2018, you're going to have the same RN number.
Exactly. Now, this is something that I use, and what I use it for is if I have a dress that has a vintage dress, let's say it looks like it was made in the 60s. It has a very 60s feel to it. I look up that RN number because I can't find anything else out on it, and find out that the company didn't apply for that RN number until 1978. I can guarantee that was not a dress made before 1978. That's what I use that for. Is I use it to guarantee an item wasn't made before a certain point, not after it.
Okay. And what did you say the starting number was?
It's 1,000 or 13670.
13670. Somebody write that down.
There's a whole formula you use. It's like you take the RN number you have, you subtract 13670 from that, then you divide it by 2,635, which is the number of RNs applied for each year, and then you add that to 1959, I want to say, and that'll give you the approximate year. I have the formula saved. I can share that with anybody who needs it.
Yeah, did you see me just looking around for a pen? I'm like, he's going too fast. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, maybe that's something we can put up in your group.
Absolutely.
Encourage people to go over there. Go over to his group. He'll put the formula up. But yeah, there's no real hard and fast way to just tell while you're standing in a store unless you have taken the time to learn and make yourself knowledgeable. I'm not saying that you have to be an expert or take years, but everyone knows to learn something, you have to be willing to take time out. And that's to surround yourself with others that do the same thing. Like when we were learning reselling, we had to be part of the reselling community, and we had to make friends with other resellers. I wasn't going to learn how to resell from my friends that read Stephen King that, don't resell. So, again, I would suggest that you join the group, surround yourself with those people, start learning, start looking things up. If you find things cheap enough, and this is just me, and I think Tim thinks the same way, if they're cheap enough, bring them home anyway.
Absolutely, 100%. That's what we do every day.
Bye, Dominic. Thank you for stopping in. I appreciate it. And Casey's probably already gone, but thanks, Casey. Yeah, if that's how we learned, and I think time is money too. So this is just me again, but typically most thrift stores in our area, it takes like 10 minutes to look up one stupid thing for a comp. And I get so frustrated. And I'm like, in that 10 minutes, I could have gone through an entire rack of jeans and picked out 5 pairs to buy. So this one that I needed to comp is only 99 cents. I'm tossing it in the cart and I'll learn when I get home. Because time is money as well. So when I'm getting into vintage clothing, not so much hard goods, but I am learning vintage clothing through Tim's group and watching Katie and Vicky. You guys know them. If it's 99 cents, if it's a couple bucks, I'll just throw it in the cart and bring it home and learn about it here instead of wasting my sourcing time while I'm in the store and getting frustrated that I can't get a comp. And then, like he said earlier, worst case scenario, you can donate it back. You get to use that as a write-off for your business, or you can sell it to at least make your money back. So that's just my advice. You don't have to take it. I personally don't feel like it's bad advice. If you have the capital to spend and it's a couple bucks, take the chance, take the risk. I never would have learned about silver jeans, anchor hawking, Pyrex. I mean, I never would have learned about a lot of things I know about if I wasn't willing to take a risk. Would you agree, Tim?
Absolutely. It's with us, like I said, we're in a very unique situation where we have an awesome local place. And that's something I want to mention as well. Don't pass up the little mom and pop stores that might be near you. Take a drive around your city, try and look. They might not be advertised everywhere, but usually the smaller stores, not Goodwill or Salvation Army, stuff like that, the smaller places have a lot of stuff for very cheap. That's something to look into because that's where we get almost everything we have is from this little local place.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go to a place like when you go to a smaller store that has less overhead and they can sell their stuff cheaper, then you find yourself in a position where you can make those types of calculated risks and step outside your comfort zone and buy stuff you're not used to and research it at home and figure out whether or not it's going to be worth your time in the future.
Yep.
There's thanks.
And I would also tell people, these little tiny ones like Tim's talking about, when you start going in all the time, they start to recognize you. And if you're nice to people, Sometimes they'll hold things for you, or as soon as you walk in the door, hey, we got this in and we know that you always buy this, and they'll take you to it. Sometimes they'll let you have deals they wouldn't let other people have, or something's not priced and you're like, this isn't priced, and they just kind of cut you a deal. So, don't be afraid of those little stores, and don't be afraid to go in all the time and say hi to people until they start to recognize you, and be nice, because it does pay off.
Absolutely. And one of the things we like is our place is 100% volunteer. The money goes straight back to the community. So what we do is every now and again, we volunteer there. And when we volunteer, we help them put clothes up on the rack and everything, but we get first dibs at everything that goes out. So we'll set an entire pile aside. We'll pick every single one of the best things as we're putting them on the rack and set it to the side, and we'll walk out with that. So Emily and I have decided we're going to do that every Wednesday. We're going to go and volunteer. And, it's all ladies that are like 60 to 70 years old that volunteer and run this place completely, off of their own time. No money. Nobody makes a dime there. So, we're going to go and help. But it's just, that's another cool thing. If you can find a place you can volunteer small like that, they will let you do things similar to this.
Mm-hmm. Holly actually volunteers at a local thrift store near her where it's run by volunteers, and she gets some really good deals from them, and special treatment, I guess. And exactly like one of those places, if you could find one of those, because they're not paying employees wages and you're there on your own time volunteering, it's almost like they feel like that's your payment. Like, okay, you gave your time and we didn't give you a paycheck, but we'll let you have first pick, or we'll let you have the sale price when it's not the sale, stuff like that.
Exactly. And these ladies, even before I started volunteering, every time I go there, I take out their trash for them. Because at the end of the day, it's usually when we go and they've got like 4 or 5 big bags. They got to walk down a flight of steps. So I go, hey, can I take your garbage? Oh, you don't have to do that. Oh, I'd be more than happy to. Come on, let me take it out for you, Linda. Oh my gosh, you're such a blessing. Thank you, sweetie. And I take it out for them. And what I do is I go through their trash as I'm taking it out because
no, that's genius. That is brilliant.
They get so much stuff. They throw out like 6 bags a day. So I brought home like 15 baseball hats the other day. I got for free. We sold one for $12. I brought home a whole box of books. I don't know if the books are going to be worth a dime. If they're not, I'll donate them to like a Goodwill or somewhere else. I won't donate them back to that store. But I go through their clothing bags before I throw everything away. And, it's like, I get something out of that too.
Yeah, it's not like it's a fast food joint that's disgusting, gross garbage. They're just getting rid of their overstock, and why not? That's genius. I'm going to keep that in mind if we ever find another small one around here. So we're going to move on to the next subject. I think that, we didn't really teach anyone yet tonight how to really spot antique or vintage. But like you said, and I said, it's hard to do it quickly. It's a process. It's a learning process. So join Tim's group, start reading. I lurk in there. I don't really post a lot in there, but I do lurk and I read everything. And you can go on Google and do searches. You can watch Tim's YouTube channel, which is also linked below, or you can watch other YouTube channels. I mean, in today's day and age, there's absolutely no excuse ever that you can't learn anything you want to learn and be self-taught on anything that you're curious about, because it's all at the tips of our fingers.
Absolutely. Before we move on, Star, I would like to give out one piece of advice. This will be a bolo that I came across a couple weeks ago. I want to share with everybody. You find it, you buy it. It is a Polaroid 600 camera. It will come in a variety of shapes and sizes and styles, but the Polaroid 600 one-step, and then it's got a bunch of different things. You put it on eBay for $28, free shipping, no best offer. You will sell it within 3 hours. There's a company called Retrospect that buys these and refurbishes them. If you put it up for $28, they will buy it from you within 3 hours. I've sold 3 of them to them within the last 2 weeks. They're a very reputable company, and this is a guaranteed way to make money every single time. So if you get it I'd buy it for $10 or under, because I know I will make that money back. I just wanted to share that.
$600?
Yes.
Here I go looking for a pen. I need to just put pens by. The whole thing is most of my longtime viewers know that I have a pen problem. I literally have buckets and drawers and bags full of pens because I just buy them and collect them. I like pens, and I have a problem with bullet journals and journals too, but I have like more pens than a freaking Sam's Club, and I never have a pen when I need it. But yeah, I'll remember that. I think that's actually one we've passed up on before, and only because the yard sale we were at, they were selling it for 15, and we went to the car and comped, and it was, like you said, in the 20s somewhere. But that same couple, we bought one for $10. It sold for like $400 to a camera store in New York, so that was nice.
Yeah, and what I do want to mention about that Polaroid 600, that's in any condition, broken, working, untested, whatever, they will buy it because they refurbish them or they use them for parts to resell them as refurbished items.
All right, so we're going to move on to the SEO topic. I know. You guys don't even understand. I literally, every time I go to the store, I come home with a pack of pens. And it always has to be a purple one, at least one purple one in there. And people gift me Sam's Club size packs of pens. I go to places like where I can take them. Like if they didn't have them tied down at the bank, I'd probably come out with one. But my problem with pens, we'll save for the next bullet journal video. We're going to talk about SEO. And for those of you that don't know, it's search engine optimization. And it's a way to use keywords to your advantage to show up in searches. But I'm going to let Tim tell you a little bit. He's prepared some information that he wanted to share with you guys ahead of time. So I'm going to let him do it now.
Thanks, Star. So to start off, I see what you mean. I'm getting a bit of an echo now, too. That's throwing me off. I got to take one out. It's really throwing me off. All right.
I know.
Can you still hear me okay? Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. I was reading the chat.
Okay, cool. Cool. So as Star said, SEO is search engine optimization. This is really going to help you when basically means using the right keywords. Now, we're going to jump right in and talk about eBay to start off. eBay uses a program they call Cassini. And Cassini is the algorithm that eBay uses to the echo. Cassini is the program the algorithm eBay uses to rank your items based on best match. Now, if somebody goes in and they click price highest to lowest, lowest to highest, A to Z, any of that, it's going to take you out of that equation. But based on the very first search, I'm gonna minimize this. That might be a problem. Based on when you first search and you look into and you're looking up an item, having the appropriate keywords is what's going to bring you up higher. There are other factors in that equation, but we're not going to get into that now because that's going to be Cassini, not SEO. Well, that is SEO. So SEO encompasses more than just keywords, but we'll go to a really good place to find keywords that you're not, if you aren't familiar with an item or you aren't familiar with a brand or you don't know the proper words to use, then one of the first best places to find keywords is on eBay. Search the item. Say I've got a vintage Anchor Hawking milk glass mug. That's all I know of it. I'll search that and I'll look through the listings until I find it. And then once I find it, I'll find another one and then a third one. And I'll compare the words they use and compare where they ranked on their on the best match list. And then I'll try and replicate those keywords or add those keywords to my I call it a journal. I keep it in my mind. I've got the words that if I've got the item in front of me, the words come to me appropriately. But that's probably the first way I would suggest looking for keywords. There are websites that you can also go with, such as Terapeak. That's one that this is really throwing me off. My kids have a game where it like delays your voice and you can't talk at all because you get all confused, and this is doing that to me. Am I echoing on your end, Star?
I don't even hear any echoes.
Oh, all right. Well, maybe it's just me. Anyways, back to the programs. A free one to use that I liked when I first started out learning about SEO was Google Keyword Planner. You could go in there, and what that'll do is that'll actually, there's a lot of information in there. It'll tell you if you type in men's Levi jeans 550, it'll give you the rankings of the most searched terms, and you can pull keywords out of there. There are some that you can pay for. I've never paid for any of them, so I can't recommend or tell you to stay away from them. So that would be something to look into if you're very, very interested in it. But as far as keywords with Cassini, that's where I would, that's where I'm at. Star, do you want to get me back on track here? Tell me where we're going.
No, I would just like to add, when you use keywords, good keywords in eBay, you're really focusing towards their search algorithm to show up higher in the search engine rankings just for Cassini, just on eBay. They can help you on Google, but only if you have good till canceled. It does take 30 days for Google algorithms to pick listings up from eBay and toss them into their mix. And if you have good till canceled, then you're around long enough for that to happen. I personally don't recommend good till canceled. You can do it if you want. You guys know I always say, my goodness, off the hook.
Cha-ching.
I always say at the end of the day, you got to do what you feel is right for your own business, and you have to run your business the way you want to. I can tell you what works for me and what I would advise, but you don't have to listen to me. I don't personally recommend good till canceled. If you want to know why, that is another video, and you have time later, you can search this channel, and I already did a video on why I think 30 days is better. Hi, Turtle Trader. Thank you for coming. Okay, so if you're doing 30 days and then they end and then you relist them, which is what I recommend, you're not around long enough for Google to get your keywords into their algorithm. It takes Google 30 days. So by the time Google would notice you, your listing has already ended. So you're really focusing towards what eBay wants and what they want for Cassini, right? You would agree?
Absolutely. I would completely agree. And something to add to that is going to be eBay has, I mean, this really isn't, I mean, it's relevant, but it's not. The names of the two programs, the algorithms eBay uses are Panda and Penguin. I get the two confused and mixed up. One blocks out spam. It, one is for keywords. If you use too many keywords or incorrect keywords, it basically blocks you from Google. The other one is for the shopping site and images. So what that will do, you want to remember, for Google to place you anywhere, if you're going to be interested in that, you're going to want to have what, Holly? What is that? Where what? Am I
What the heck? She's fired.
Yeah, we're gonna you're gonna want a white background. You need a white background to really place anywhere on Google. And I wouldn't recommend doing anything with clothing, even vintage clothing, as far as good till canceled, because with everything I've ever done with SEO and looked into, I've never been able to get my clothing to ever show up. Now I can get my VCRs to show up within, like, say, the top 30 or 40 on Google. I can get some of our vintage milk glass items or our china sets, but I've never gotten clothing that high. So in my personal opinion, I wouldn't worry about a white background with clothing, and only for the reason of wanting it for Google. If you want a white background, it looks fantastic, but don't do a white background because you want to please Google for clothing, in my opinion.
Well, they did tell us at eBay Open that they had a Google rep at eBay Open who told us that the white background is more preferred for Google, but if you're not up for longer than 30 days, it's not going to matter. So
exactly.
But I personally, I like the white background. I think it looks crisp. I think it looks professional. But I sell a lot on Poshmark too, and I see all the cute things people do there. They have like the gray wood or the brown wood, and they have their little props and their rugs and their cactus and whatever. And that's really, really pretty too. That's really good photography, and it's pretty. But you can't really do stuff like that on eBay because unfortunately Poshmark is a different clientele. If you stick a rug or a cactus in a listing on eBay and you send them the shirt,
they're going to think they get it.
Yeah, you send them their shirt, they're going to open an item not described because where's my rug and my cactus?
Exactly.
You didn't send the cactus. Right. So I recommend keeping eBay photos only what you're selling, and there are no props. I mean, you don't put a pair of jeans next to a pair of shoes unless you're selling both. You can do whatever you want on Poshmark artistically. I really wouldn't recommend it on eBay. And personally, I think
I've been worried about.
Go ahead.
I've been worried about them I've been worried about them complaining because they didn't get the mannequin before too.
Yeah, well, a long time ago we bought a tiny hippo. He's a mini beanie baby, and we were going to start putting him in all of our photos when they took away watermarks, so we couldn't put Flippin' Hippos on anything. And then I thought better of it. I'm like, if I put this tiny hippo in my pictures, everybody and their brother's going to start opening item not described because where's my hippo?
Exactly. Now, you want to jump back to Cassini Star?
Sure.
One of the things that I think a lot of people miss out on that really does help your ranking is the item specifics. Do you fill those out as far as, let's say you're doing pants, do you put the measurements in there or just in your description?
Both.
Oh, okay, that's what we do. And I think a lot of people miss out on those opportunities to include basically we look at our item specifics. If there is a spot that we can fill in, we fill it in. If it asks for color, blue jeans, we put blue. If it asks for country it's made in, we put Bangladesh or wherever. We fill in every single thing that is there because of the fact that every single one of those are indexed by Cassini. Now, your description is not going to be unless you do an advanced search and you search within the description field as well. So these are really great places to include. These are really my tongue. Sorry. These are really great places to include keywords that you might not have been able to fit within your title.
So I'm just messing around, Lance and Justin.
Yeah.
So the thing is when, first of all, you can set up templates. So in a template, you can fill out as much information ahead of time as you can. And you can set one for everything you sell. So if you sell a lot of jeans, have a women's jeans and a men's jeans, whatever, you have a lot of it pre-filled out, number one. Number two, if you're not, don't do sell similar. You have a template already filled out as much as you can. So if you're doing 20 pairs of jeans, just keep using your template over and over instead of sell similar. And when you do that, when you put the right keywords in the right order in your title, when you go down to those item specifics, more than half of them are already being suggested to you by eBay, and you just click them. So for instance, if I list a pair of jeans, I've got enough information in my title that when I go down to item specifics, eBay is already suggesting title, size type, color, silhouette, inseam. It's crazy. You just like check them, and then you basically all I ever have to put in is the country it was made in, because they pull so much from your title, and then the other stuff can be pre-filled. Like they have material and then actual material. So yeah, I have to fill in actual material too, like 98 cotton, 2 spandex. But the regular material in your template, you can put denim or cotton blend, and that's good enough for that spot. And then you put the actual in the actual. So if you combine templates along with using all the right words in your title, it's not more work. It's really not. It doesn't take that much longer. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, I use templates all the time. I love using template. I generally use the template because our items vary so much, because we sell such a broad spectrum of stuff. Mine is kind of an end spiel. It says, we thank you for shopping with us. just as a disclaimer, we are a pet-friendly home, so all items come from a we are animal lovers, so all items come from a clean, pet-friendly home. Your item will ship out within 1 business day. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to ask. Thank you, Hex Treasures. Something right along those lines, and I just click a button and it pops it right in for us.
Yeah,
and, I know what.
I have half my title filled out before I start. It'll say women's jeans size, and over here it'll say denim. And I'm literally filling in the brand, the size, the silhouette, the rise, and if it's medium, light, or dark. And I used to have all that information in my description. I took it out. I felt like it was inviting trouble. That's just my opinion. We kept it there for a long time. But we made it really short, sweet, and simple, like a year and a half in. You can keep yours if you want. I'm not saying it's wrong. But we used to have like the whole, thanks for shopping at the Hippo Hut. Now it just says like, we have same-day shipping except for holidays, fast shipping, thanks, bye. Okay, thanks, bye. Or something like that. Thank you, Lance, for the $2. Apparently you have a fan, Tim.
I'm waiting on my answer, Lance.
Oh, I didn't see your comment. Probably Henry is probably the best looking person here today. Or maybe Hannah. Because she's pink.
If we're going by the plumpest hippo, I think I win.
I think Henry wins. Henry is ginormous. He's like a real hippo size. But we digress. We go off topic. Thank you for the super chat, Lance. Yes. And you didn't get a dancing hippo. I'm sorry. The third party that I use for the dancing hippo for the super chats does not work when I have to use Hangouts with guests. So you either get dancing hippos or you get Tim. The pink one hiding. That's Hannah. So
there you go.
Anyway, yeah, you can. Let me go back on topic. So if you do your templates, and again, you can search my channel for that. I have like a 5-minute video on how to fill out your templates and how to do it. But you put in as much information as you can, especially like Tim might have a harder time with this because he deals in antiques and has, I'm on fire tonight, folks. I am making money. He does different things, but like I know that I sell or I list at least 50 to 60 pairs of jeans a week, right? So my templates can be really filled out to where I'm only putting in brand and the actual size and stuff like that. So make things easy for yourself. Fill in the description too. Like I hardly have to put anything down there anymore. And my jean templates are already set to padded flat 1 to 2 pounds. And then my shirts and stuff are already set to first class. It just makes it easier. And if you set yourself up for success and you make things easier on yourself, you are more likely to do it the right way and the best way for your business, rather than looking at all these blanks every time and going, oh, geez, I don't want to do this 20 times over and over, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have 15 minutes left until we hit the hour mark. How do you feel about opening up the floor for questions?
I mean, I guess if we have to.
Oh, thank you, Lance. I am a wonderful jeans coach. I think people are coming to me more and more for jeans, and I do appreciate that. They are my second favorite thing to list, and probably the second thing I'm most knowledgeable about. But don't forget that I was the original plushie queen, and I know a lot about plush, and I even beat out Wade's Ventures in a live show on a plush haul for my title. So, but we will open up the floor for questions, you guys. You can ask me and Tim anything at all about reselling, YouTubing, running a Facebook group, antiques, vintage, personal questions, whatever you want. We will answer whatever we want to answer. Whatever. That sounded snotty. I didn't mean it like that. I mean, you can ask us anything, and if there's something that we don't want to answer, we won't. But
I will answer any question. It's up to you to determine if it's the truth.
Well, I always say I'll answer personal questions too, but I don't want some troll coming in here and asking inappropriate.
Yeah, exactly. Favorite emojis. Mine would have to be. Oh, I'm answering Justin. Favorite emojis. I'll tell you right now. Let me see. We got a recent here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go on my history too. I think mine is the big laugh cry face. I use that all the time, and the poop, the little turd guy. I love the little turd guy. He's funny. You know what they need? They need a hippo emoji. They have a hamster one, and I use it all the time because I love hamsters too. But I need a hippo one. Let's see.
I love the one that is going like that. Start, look, ready?
And it has the like nuclear explosion coming off the top of its head.
Nope, not that one. Not that one. There's another one here. I'll send it to you right now to where you know which one I'm talking about. That's my favorite one. It looks like the scream face almost.
Oh,
like,
I know what you're talking about. So I think my favorite one is probably the nerd. He's wearing glasses, and he has two little buck teeth.
That one. You should get it.
Yeah, that one. I know what you're talking about. You send that to me all the time. I like the nerd one, and I guess the laugh cry face the best. And the hamster. I use the hamster a lot. Next question.
Let me go to Paul Landsberg. The offer thing, you shouldn't need a store to be able to do that. You should be able to do it as long as you have best offer on your item. Now, don't forget to add your item number at the end of that link that I included in that video. So if you put your item number, that link won't work by itself. That'll take you to like a 404 page not found. But put the item number at the end and make sure that you have best offer turned on for your items, and then exit out of your browser and open it back up. I've heard from a couple other people who don't have stores that said that worked for them. So if that doesn't work, let me know. Maybe we can help figure it out on my group.
How many pictures of clothes do you take? That really depends. Basic. My jeans, I take a picture of the front with the legs folded up behind, and then laid out full length, front and back, and any tags and any marks that are important. Like with the Lucky jeans, I get the Lucky U and the zipper and the inside pockets with the clovers. With the silver brand, I try to get all information inside that shows that they're silver. The True Religion has some things inside that you would take photos of to prove their True Religion. So basically, like folded up front, full front and back. Anything on the inside that's a tag or the name of the jeans or is important to that brand. And then, of course, if it has any flaws or anything that I'm going to put in the listing, I can't even think of the word I want. Any flaws, I take a picture of. And if they have like distress, I take pictures of that because people are really into the distress and the rips and the holes, and they like to see that. And as far as shirts, men's front, back, all tags, all damage. Boom, done. Maybe close up with a graphic. Women's shirts, front, side, and back. Again, all tags, damage. You said clothes, so I'm not going to tell you about how many pictures I take about a blush. I'm just kidding. He specifically asked for clothes. Tim, what about you? How many pictures for clothes?
Okay. Give me 1 second. Emily, how many pictures for clothes? Emily does all the pictures. How many pictures do you generally do on clothing? No less than 5. So Emily's going to do, she said that we do no less than 5 on our clothing. And one for each angle, front, back, both sides. Left, right, and then the tag. Whatever tags they have, but with the vintage stuff, we'll use up to all 12, because a lot of times with vintage items, they'll have snags or rips, or they'll be missing threads, and we need to note that. Just because something's damaged doesn't mean it's not going to, being vintage, it still can be worth money, but you have to very accurately visually describe your items. We've always been told to take pictures of your items like you have no description, and describe your items like you have no pictures.
Yes. On Poshmark, you are limited to 8, so I try not to go over 8 on my clothing on eBay. So I don't come down to a hard decision of picking and choosing when I'm cross posting. You don't have to use all 12 for clothing. Like he just said, if it's something that's a vintage hard good and you want to show different angles or damage or whatever, then yeah, you want to try to use all 12. But if you have a pair of jeans that's in really good condition, as long as you get front and back and the tags and stuff inside, and then one good one of them like folded or whatever for the front photo. What do you laugh? Oh, is there something? Justin, you're fired. Meet me after the show in the office for your final paycheck. I lost my whole train of thought. Oh, that front picture is the most important. And by that, I mean the one that goes in first. And when people are looking down the list in the search, they see that one front picture. That is the most important picture. Make sure that is your prettiest picture. It doesn't have to show all the details. They'll get that when they go into the listing. They want a nice photo, like a first impression photo, right?
Yeah. Before you
go ahead.
Before you answer a question, I wanted to. I put a link in here in ebay.com/mys/overview Paul. Try using that link to start off with. That is the first way to get to the offer screen. If you don't see anything at all on that screen, then private message me or jump into Vintage Thrifter Resellers and put up a post. So, just tag me in it and I'll touch up with you after. But if that link's not working for you, then we'll figure it out from there because that one should.
Lance asks if it's necessary to follow a lot of people on Poshmark. I would say absolutely, especially in the beginning. The way Poshmark works is the more followers you have and the more you share, the more people are going to share you. And when you share your own closet, the more followers you have, the more likely you're going to be to have those followers share you. And the more eyeballs your stuff goes in front of, the more likely you're going to sell. If you don't follow people, they're not going to follow you back. So if you have like 100 people you're following and you have like 1,000 followers, eventually people are going to stop following you because you look like a jerk face. Like, oh my God, this person doesn't follow anybody back. So yeah, it is important. If you want to pick up a lot of followers, I have a couple of tips. Find an ambassador who has a lot of followers. Like for instance, you almost said Nay from Posh Boss. She has like over 100,000 followers. So she's an ambassador. So go to her, go into her followers and follow everybody that follows her. And they'll all follow you back. Go and find the ambassadors and follow them, and find famous people and follow them. Like Ashton Kutcher has a Poshmark closet. He's actually one of the founding investors on Poshmark, if y'all didn't know that. So there's tricks. But yeah, it is definitely important. It's kind of like the same thing on Instagram. If you see somebody that has a ton of followers, but like really doesn't follow anybody, they either have to be a celebrity to have that forgiven, or people will immediately think that person's a jerk. It's just how people's minds work. And I've heard that over and over again from a lot of people that, so don't go on my Posh Closet or my Instagram tonight and look at the followers versus following. Just don't go look at mine because I'm a jerk. I always tell people do as I say, not as I do.
Right? That's exactly how it is. I want to jump up to Swimmerization's question, or however, Swimmer Oneization. I thought using all 12 pictures helped you rank higher in Cassini. And from what I understand now, Star may know better because she has attended the eBay Open, so there may be something. But based on my research, is as long as you have 4 or more. If you have less than 4 pictures, it's going to affect you negatively. But if you have 4 or more, it's going to be it's going to keep you in the same spot.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I've heard too. And if you have a double photo, unfortunately, the buyer's going to think the second instance of that photo is where you're showing something wrong with it. And they're going to be looking at it, trying to find that discrepancy or what's going on there. And it might turn them off. That's just my opinion and what I've heard. Somebody asked about eBay followers. That's not really that important. Typically, if you have people following your eBay store, they're other buyers and they're stalking you because one of two reasons, and we hope it's the second one. The first reason, you either have bad business practices and they stalk you to find out what not to do, or you have a really good eBay store and you have good titles, good keywords, good photos, and you sell a lot and you have good prices and they're stalking you to see what you're doing to kind of emulate your business model and maybe use you to comp items or learn prices from. We hope it's the second one. But typically, when you're being followed on eBay, it's other buyers. And they're just looking at you as either a peer or like a coworker to just kind of see what you're doing. I mean, there are rare instances where people have, I guess, repeat buyers on eBay and they'll follow you so they can easily come back and shop from you. But most of the time, it's other buyers.
Sellers, other sellers, Star.
That's what I mean. Did I say buyers like 5,383 times when I meant to say sellers?
Yes, you did.
Oh my God, I'm tired. No, I meant sellers. Sellers, other sellers. We can't edit live shows. We all know that. The time I knocked the camera on the floor, where we learned that. But do I offer free shipping on all items? I actually just put up a video last week about the new shipping price increases, and I went into detail on what we offer free shipping on and what we don't. You can revisit that if you have time. We're coming to the end of this, so I really can't get into that right now. It's not like an easy answer. It's just not. There's lots of criteria.
Absolutely.
So I think we came on a little early, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up now. Before I give out all my thanks tonight, I know Tim has a special thank you to give out.
I do. My special thank you is running out towards Tony Boss, and I don't know if he calls himself Alexander or Sasha. I call him Sasha. That's his name. But they're the admins, a couple of the admins over at The Complete Reseller. This is one of the groups I first joined with. They're a smaller group when I started before I created my group. And like I said, they're a smaller group, but their information on there is fantastic. They cover every single category you guys could think of. So if you're really looking at branching out or you want to get out of your comfort zone, this is a great place to start. And a lot of the bigger groups are fantastic as well. But if you have questions, it's very easy to get lost. And here it's a lot more personal because it's a smaller group at this time. They're really good friends of mine. And all right, Sasha. Yes, they're really good friends of mine at this time. You know, I talk with these guys daily. I video chat with them daily. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for the both of them. And, you know, if I just highly recommend anybody who's not a part of their group, they're The Complete Reseller. Throw that up on Facebook in the search bar, and it'll pull them right up.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to say thank you to Tony as well. He reached out to me when he was first getting into his Facebook group and invited me to join and said I could promote my stuff in there. And I've watched him grow, and he's really a cool guy. And like Tim said, the big groups are great. They have a lot of members and a vast pool of knowledge. But if you're looking for knowledge, you go to the big groups. If you're looking for a sense of communal and a sense of family and a smaller group of people to really connect with in the community, you go to the small groups. So Tony Boss's is good. If you want to know what it is, hit me up on Facebook and I will get you there and you can join. Make sure you join Tim's. He's like at 5,000 members, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna hit. Well, I'm gonna hit. I think 3,500 today after I add my people. It's been a day or two since I've added anyone, but we're doing a giveaway here. That's something special about our group. We do giveaways like every week. I've got 2 giveaways. Hey, Lance, no, bad Lance, no bad words. We do giveaways every week. I mean, it's our thing. It's our way of saying thank you. Plus, I have 10,000 items in inventory that need to be listed, and you guys are helping me liquidate that. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I still consider you small. Not in a bad way, like in a sense of communal family. And I just started my very own Facebook group this week. Last Monday. So that's actually down below, or you can just look up the Hippo Hut. You'll find us. We focus in my group on a lot of stuff that I talk about on my channel. So it's a little different. We do different things. We're going to get into accountability and bullet journaling and all that good stuff. Thank you to everyone who came in tonight. Thank you to all of my regulars. I 100% appreciate you. Every week, you guys spend an hour with me, and that means a lot. Time is money in our business. And all of you that have never watched me before, that came with Tim, thank you for coming in and watching me tonight, even though you were following Tim. But I appreciate you guys coming. You could have just said, I've never heard of that girl. I don't want to watch it. So thanks. To all my moderators, you guys are absolutely all rehired. I love you guys. You guys are the absolute best, and you guys know that, and you do a lot for me. I 100% appreciate you. And I guess you guys, the last thing to say is smash the like button before you go. If you would, I appreciate it. If you haven't already, and you'd like to, please subscribe to our channel and help us feed all of our hungry hippos. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We are at Flippin' Hippos across all social media. Until next time, you guys have a good night. I got to stand up and go turn this off, so you can just look at my chair or Tim for a minute. Good night, guys. I love you. Good night.
I don't know what to do with my hands.